On today's show, great night in the NBA, some fun games. The Raptors almost pulled it off against the Bucks. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Bulls making it back in the play-in, the Hawks pulling out a close win against the Kings, and of course, with the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. Talk about all that and more on today's Locked On NBA. Let's go.
You are Locked On NBA, your daily NBA podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And welcome. You're Locked On to the NBA. My name is Nick Angstadt, host of the Locked On Mavericks podcast. Thanks for making Locked On NBA your first listen each and every day. Remember, Locked On NBA is free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube, where the best way you can help us grow is to comment anything below. Let us know who are your two stars of the night. Probably Giannis. Probably Trae Young maybe in there. Got some other guys. Let us know in the comment section below. Joining me, as always, on a Thursday, host of Locked On Bulls. What you got for me, Pat the Designer?
Kevin Durant's really good at basketball.
Yeah. A lot of players really good at basketball lately. A lot of players making that case.
Yeah.
Nobody went off for 50 tonight. Kevin Durant, 44. That's all you got? That's all you got?
Coming up a little short there, Katie.
Nobody got 50? Good Lord, we were on a streak there for a minute. Today, we'll break down some of the most interesting games. Let's talk about the Bucks and the Raptors, because this one I had on ESPN, is the ESPN game, the first game of the night. And when it started, at the 5-minute and 30-second mark in the first quarter, Milwaukee was up 7-0. The Raptors didn't score until 5 minutes and 12 seconds left in the first quarter, and you're just like, this is the product. If everyone had changed and decided after the after the Hamlin hit in the NFL, the Bills player goes off with the ambulance. If a bunch of NFL fans were like, you know what, I think I'm going to change. I think let me check in on this NBA thing, and they watched the first nationally broadcasted game, and this is what they got.
Yeah, that's a tough one. It was a solid. I don't even know what you call that, dog. I don't even. It was one of those. It was just like, hey,
it was a solid overcorrection, is what it was.
It's yes. First off, yes, it's the game literally where you go, hey, this is the '90s, and do you want this back?
We're back. It's '90s basketball. We're back. All right, but then. So the Bucks end up due scoring points, by the way. The Bucks end up building up a 21-point lead with about 3 minutes and 10 seconds left. It seems like a blowout. Everyone's like, okay, Giannis and no Drew Holiday, no Chris Middleton. Giannis has it going pretty much there. He had an incredible game. The Bucks were just rebounding the heck out of the ball. The Bucks at that point, with 3 minutes and 10 seconds left, they had a 21-point lead. The Raptors were shooting 29% from the field, 14% from three. Just abysmal. They were getting out-rebounded by like almost 30 rebounds. And then all of a sudden, Van Vliet comes alive, hits a couple threes. Raptors are down 15. Then a couple mistakes. Milwaukee gets a 5-second violation. All of a sudden, then Gary Trent, 4-point play. Grayson Allen, the flagrant foul, runs into him. Do you know anything about Grayson Allen and flagrant fouls, Pat? I don't know if that's something that you guys have come into.
Well, actually, no, because he's never been called for one against the Chicago Bulls.
All of a sudden, Gary Trent hits that 4-point play, down by 5 at that point. Then Scottie Barnes. Scottie Barnes had an incredible end to this game. He was going at Brook Lopez several times in the fourth quarter, and he went at him at this time, down by 3, 13 seconds left. Siakam runs into Bobby Portis, bumps him a little bit. The call is out of bounds. It's not called a foul. Raptors get the ball back. Gary Trent pulls up from 3, and the game is tied. Last 3 minutes and 9 seconds of this game, the Raptors outscored the Bucks 28-7. Scottie Barnes, Gary Trent had 9 points. Fred VanVleet had 8 points. What did you see in this collapse by the Bucks and this surge from the Raptors to end this one?
I mean, it was good to see Scottie Barnes. Now, we also need to indicate Bucks do win the game.
We haven't talked about overtime yet. We'll get to overtime.
Yeah, we'll get to it. But I think that the part that and I think Brook Lopez, right? It was good to see Scottie Barnes going at Brook Lopez, who leads the NBA this season in block shots. And you just saw him do some really good things in that fourth quarter, and that's the part that excited me most, honestly.
It was always going to be a learning curve for Scottie Barnes. He didn't come into the NBA as like this finished product, but when we saw some flashes early on, you're like, oh, this guy can be special. And then there were the talks about, well, I don't think the Raptors want to put him in a Kevin Durant trade. And then all of a sudden, when that's the case, it becomes the Talen Horton-Tucker. They don't want to trade him for Kyle Lowry like thing. Remember when the Lakers didn't want to do that? And all of a sudden now Talen Horton-Tucker's stock was through the roof. And you're like, okay, now we're putting too much pressure on this guy to become something that he may not be. But with Scottie Barnes, his numbers have been about the same. And he's had a really weird season this year. I was talking with Sean Woodley during this game, and he was like, Scottie Barnes has been a lot better since he started playing the 5 for the Raptors. Like, that's how weird of a season they've had, that this 6'9" guy is all of a sudden having a better season when he plays the 5, even though that's probably not his natural position or even a good position for him long-term in the NBA. So, but it was great to see him, like you said, take it right at Brook Lopez. And he probably did it 3 or 4 times, just driving right at his chest, getting the ball right up over him, and then hitting shots like that, especially that clutch one late there. Gary Trent hitting that, like you said, an incredible run. And then, of course, in overtime, Giannis does. He took over just a little bit, kicked it over to Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen got the redemption 3 he hit, but an incredible pass from Giannis to Grayson Allen over there. And they only needed what, five points to get the win. Milwaukee Bucks pull out this win. And for the Bucks, they get 73 rebounds in this game. It's the most rebounds since
the last game versus the Bulls. I don't know.
2015, the Milwaukee Bucks got 81 rebounds. And it was Giannis was on that team, and guess who they were playing against? The Brooklyn Nets and Brook Lopez. So Giannis and Brook have been involved in both of the highest rebound games for a single team since 1995, which is just wild. So that team continues to roll on. They just find other ways to win, right? Like, if you don't have Drew Holiday, you don't have Chris Middleton, Grayson Allen steps up in overtime he had 5 points. You have Brook Lopez with his 19 rebound game, even though he was dealing with some foul trouble. Giannis with 30, 21, and 10. I mean, like, when you have a guy like Giannis that's as versatile as he can, you can do a lot of things and find a lot of ways to win games.
Yeah, 100%. And you know what? I like the fact that they do pull this win out. I thought that they did some good things to close out this game. The Bucks have been I've focused very closely on them this season, right? Because they're still my pick to win the NBA Finals. They have been for most of the season. But my biggest question is, can we really trust this Bucks team? It's great to see them top of the Eastern Conference, dominating, and they've won so many games. But I had to go back and I was like, who have the Bucks beat this year?
Yeah.
Who am I looking at? And I see a lot of losses versus teams that I didn't expect to see losses against. Bulls, Celtics, Nets, Cavaliers. In fact, they lost 4 straight on that, right? Lost versus the Grizzlies. Did beat the Warriors, missing quite a few people, right? They've still got some good wins, but there's been some interesting stretches where I've had to look at this Bucks team and be like, hey, are they kind of pulling a Chicago Bulls preseason? I love what they're doing. And of course, or not preseason, last season, I should say. I love what they're doing with without Chris Middleton and Drew Holiday in the lineup. I like how they're kind of playing that lineup, but I got some questions on this team. I'm not going to lie. More questions than I thought I would have had.
Cage. Antetokounmpo. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, shout out to Jack Black. Yeah, there is some questions about this Bucks team for sure. Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton answer some of those questions. It still doesn't feel like they've had those guys all together for a long enough stretch. But as soon as they do, this team will probably look a lot different. The Joe Ingles addition, too, is going to be a little different. He's been back here and there. But the Bucks get a win. Raptors almost pulled one out, and that Raptors team is, they're now 12th in the NBA. They're not even in the play-in. They're a game out of the play-in right now. Trade deadline. That's a team I think a lot of people are looking at. Coming up, let's talk about the Bulls getting a win against the Nets. They're back in the play-in. And the Hawks get a win against the Kings. The Cardiac Kings almost pulled out another clutch game. Talk about how those two teams pulled it out coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about Built Bar. It's a protein bar. It tastes like a candy bar. They're delicious. I eat them. I have ordered them myself. We get them sent for free sometimes, and I'll still buy them. They are so good. What makes them so good is they're covered in 100% real chocolate. The Brownie Batter Puff is a great bar. It's like got marshmallow fluff in the middle of it. It tastes like brownie batter. It's my favorite protein bar. It's one of my favorite candy bars, honestly, if I just had to choose one. 140 calories, 17 grams of protein, only 6 grams of sugar in that bar that's covered in 100% chocolate. And you can go check them out at your local Walmart. That's wild. Go to the pharmacy section, grab yourself a box of Built Bars. You can buy a 4-bar box of the cookies and cream, solid one, double chocolate solid, or the coconut puffs. If you are close to a Sam's Club, run and grab a 13-bar box. Interesting. Go check out those at Walmart or Sam's Club. You can also get them on their website. It's built.com. All right, Pat, thanks for listening to Locked On NBA, making us your first listen today. Go check out Locked On Bulls. Check out Locked On Mavs, or go check out Locked On Sports today after this. Great stuff always. The Chicago Bulls that you cover daily got a win against the Brooklyn Nets, and this was kind of a big one for them, 121 to 112. You get the 44-point game from Kevin Durant, but not enough for the Nets, as you get three 20-point games from DeRozan, Vooch, and Pat Williams. Pat, tell me how Pat got it done.
Finally working his way into the offense a little bit more consistently. I mean, getting to the free throw line, just kind of being aggressive. And that's been the big question with this Bulls team all year. How do you get your young guys involved in this team? How do you get your young guys involved in the offense, right? And we haven't seen that a ton from the Bulls this year. But tonight, our young guys carried us. Ayo Dosunmu had a really good game, played some really good defense out there, and came up with some key steals at the end of that game for the Bulls. And Patrick Williams just, he found a way to finally insert himself into the offense, especially with Zach LaVine having a little bit of an off shooting night tonight. But I think the Bulls as a whole, right, offensively just played well. We talked about it over on Locked On Bulls tonight. Me and Hayes were breaking it down, and it almost seemed like the Bulls kind of like had moments and have had to have moments over this stretch where now they're 6-4 in their last 10, even though a 71-point game. Shout out to the ref on that. But it seems like there's more moments now where they're using DeRozan as the assassin. And kind of the point guards on the team are looking and they're like, okay, we're going to run this offense. Even though you're on the court, we're going to pass it to us 4. And then we're going to make a play happen. And we're going to get it to these young guys. We're going to allow Ayo to play, Pat Will to get more shots up. And when we need you to take that shot, you be ready. And DeMar's always ready to shoot. It's what he does best. So I think that the Bulls have kind of like figured out a little bit of an offensive system that's going to work for them probably best with the makeup of the team that they have. I don't know how far that takes them. I don't know how it gets them there, but it got you a win versus the Brooklyn Nets tonight. And if not for a couple of back-to-back bad reffing calls at the end of games.
Careful.
They can't find me. The NBA going to send me
the basketball gods, Pat. The basketball gods
always. If not for a couple of bad calls at the end of games that the league even has said are bad calls on the last 2-minute report, the Bulls have won their last 3 games. And so I think that makes it changes your outlook a little bit, but this team has still got a long way to go before me and Hayes start feeling good about it.
Pat, even though you guys are counting up moral victories, they don't count in the win
at all.
In the win column. The Bulls now, though, are back in the play-in. They're a game back of the Hawks. What's their standing on there? What do you think about the Bulls entering the play-in at this point? Do you think they can keep up this play that they've shown over the last couple of games here?
I think the big thing here is that the East is so close that we don't even know. I'll be honest with you. There are teams right now that probably aren't in the playoffs that we're going to be looking at and be like, oh, yeah, I could see them being in the playoffs, but like I didn't expect them to be in the playoffs at this point in the season, right? I think the Hawks could move up if they can ever figure out how to use Trae Young and Dejounte Murray at the same time. I think the Bulls have a chance to move up to be out of the play-in, but right now, in the play-in tournament, I mean, we've played well against every team that's in the play-in tournament, so I would still expect the Bulls to make the playoffs as a whole. I would hope that they would actually be able to get in there as a 8-7 seed instead of a 9-10, but hopefully we don't have to have this conversation by the end of the season. But as the play-in stands right now, if it stayed the same, Pacers, Heat, Atlanta, and the Bulls, I would feel good about their chances to get into the playoffs. I think the biggest question then is, are we heading for another first round exit just like last year, right? And we could say yes, we could say no. The biggest thing on that is the Bulls are now 6-1 versus the Boston Celtics, Milwaukee Bucks, and Brooklyn Nets.
That's a stat.
So
that's a stat right there.
If you get in, you beat these teams.
Speaking of the Hawks came down and got a win against the the Sacramento Kings. It was a 7-point lead for the Hawks with 3 minutes and 50 seconds left. The Kings call a timeout, and all of a sudden, the momentum just completely shifts. It shifts back to the Kings. They're at home. Their crowd has been awesome. Like that Kings team, that Sacramento City has always just like yearned for a team to be competent. Not even good, just competent. Like, can we get a competent team in here? And they finally have one this year with real talent that is playing well. And they're loving it. I love watching those games because you just hear real crowds. And Herter hits a 3, Barnes hits a jumper. It's a 5-0 quick run, and then Fox, with 2 minutes left, unloads this dunk on Onyeka Okongwu. Dunks all over him. Kevin Huerter hits another 3, and all of a sudden, Sacramento has the first lead of the game at that point. Then you get a couple more clutch plays here. Fox gets an and one. Trae Young gets an and one on the other side. 50 seconds left. Sabonis misses a couple of clutch free throws that would have given the Kings a larger lead there. Huerter fouls Trae. They call a challenge on it. It was one of those Trae Young like trying to beat the system type plays where he just kind of like flinches in the air and it's not really a foul. So the successful challenge for the Kings. And then 30 seconds left. Dejounte Murray has a couple of really awesome plays. Fouled by Sabonis, hits both of his free throws. They're up by 1. And then Fox has the ball down by 1. Murray steals it, gets the layup. He bumps Fox in the open court, but the Kings don't have their challenge anymore, so the Atlanta Hawks get the win. This was a good one that the Hawks definitely needed. They get big contributions from Trae Young and Murray. They have 21 points each, but they also get 22 points from Collins, 22 points from DeAndre Hunter. I almost called it Dejounte. That's not his name. 17 points from Bogdanovich off the bench, who's one of the 6-man of the year candidates. A ton of points from them, and it was just kind of a gutsy, like clutch win that this team really, really needed. And if you look at the Kings side of it, man, just another one they could have just pulled out right at the last minute. Just didn't come up with enough clutch plays.
Is this the best win we've seen from the Hawks? Like this is to me, this to me, I feel like is the one of the few like, hey, this entire team played like we expected it to play coming into the season, or most people expected it.
Best
to play.
win. They started the year 7-3, which is wild to like try to remember back to. But they had a win against the Bucks early. That was a good one. Overtime win against the Pelicans. They had 2 wins against the Bucks early. So you're like, okay, well, and then now, like since then, they've just been so bad for like 2 months.
Yeah, they haven't. I think there was that. Of course, there's that beginning of the season, like, oh man, these guys are great together.
Yeah.
And then teams figure out how to defend you. Teams figure out how to attack Trae Young, even though you're trying to hide him defensively. Teams figure out what they can do to get downhill on you. And I mean, it's shown, but I think tonight, right, like the Atlanta Hawks did some nice things defensively, and just to close out the game. And then you look at the offensive side of the basketball, and you're talking about 5-6 guys, where most nights we're talking about Trae Young or not both at the same time, Dejounte Murray getting off with maybe a couple of other guys chipping in there. So I like this win for the Hawks. Hopefully it'll spark something for them.
Yeah, and you get those clutch plays from Murray, and when you see him in that game, you're like, that's why you go out and get a guy like that, right? That's why you go and try and trade for somebody that can, like, it didn't have to be Trae Young down the stretch hitting those clutch plays. It was Murray. They got fouled on a drive. It wasn't even just and then he got the defensive steal, which was just like he picked Fox's pocket like one-on-one. Then gets the layup in the open court. They need plays like that, and they weren't getting those from anybody. Like they weren't getting them from anybody else except for Trae Young, and so you really, really needed a guy like that. And yeah, good win for the Hawks. They are now 18-20, which doesn't sound very good, but they're improved to 18-20, and are now in the 9th seed in the East. Coming up, let's get into our favorite game every single week,
Count it up,
where we count on the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. But before we do that, let me tell you about LinkedIn. LinkedIn Jobs will help you find a job faster, but they can also help you find someone to fill a job that you're looking for faster. LinkedIn Jobs helps you quickly attract candidates to your jobs with targeting tools. They go beyond the resume data by using insights for your job post, company, and their 875 million member profiles to put your post in front of the most qualified candidates. There's tons of people out there on LinkedIn that want to get new jobs. LinkedIn Jobs makes it easier to screen and rate applicants based on your job qualifications on one platform. It's why small businesses rank LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA. That's linkedin.com/LockedOnNBA to post your job for free. Terms and conditions apply. All right, Pat, let's play our favorite game every single week.
Count it up, count it up, count it up, count it.
Where we count the most interesting, fun things in the NBA. The Grizzlies roll to a win, literally and figuratively, roll to a win against the Hornets where Ja Morant runs this play. 3 minutes and 50 seconds left in the third quarter, I think, where the Hornets make a basket and they inbound the ball, and Ja Morant lets the ball roll out until it stops. He's like behind the half court line, and he just lets it roll to a stop. He didn't touch the ball, so the shot clock hasn't started, but the game clock is still going. He sits there from 3 minutes and 50 seconds to 3 minutes and 20 seconds, 30 seconds, until Terry Rozier finally sauntered up the court and was like, "Oh, we planned this the whole time," and then got in front of Ja Morant and then got the ball. Count it up.
Count it up.
More of a smart play by Ja Morant or more of a cheating the game kind of play by Ja Morant?
Smart play. First off, they were killing them at this point.
Destroying.
So they were dominating them ridiculously at this point. So it's a smart play to me because you're allowing your team to rest. You're allowing your team to essentially get a breather on a beginning of a second of a back-to-back. You're trying to find all those little moments in a game where your team can get a breather, all those little moments in a game where your team can get some rest. And I like the play. Listen, it's been said about Ja Morant by many players in this league, and Draymond Green has said it on his podcast as well. He's one of the smartest players in the NBA, and he just understands the rules at a very Chris Paul level. And so, yeah, sometimes there's some cheating the game, but we loved when Kobe did it. Kobe just didn't tell you he was doing it until after the fact. So he loved when Kobe did it.
I'll go the opposite then. This is a cheat the game kind of play to me. It's not cheating the game as far as the Grizzlies are concerned, but imagine you're there and you paid money to watch this game and you just get to watch 30 seconds of Ja Morant stand over a ball and just stand there. How long could he have stood there if the Hornets didn't wake up and realize he wasn't across the half court yet? Could it have been a minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes? How long would it take before they because we know the Hornets don't want to play. The Hornets are done. They're like, we don't want to play this season anymore. We're terrible. So it was a little more of a cheat the play. So if I'm going to have to do the gauge, I'm leaning towards cheat the game kind of play.
Well, he made up for it by catching an alley-oop 4 or 5 plays later.
If you were there in Charlotte to watch Ja Morant, you got your money's worth.
Yeah.
Sure. Donovan Mitchell, I have to bring this up. Sorry. He scored 71 points this week. Robin Lopez tweeted after the game, "I'm going to get it out of the way and point out that Donovan Mitchell and Robin Lopez combined for 72 points tonight. #historic game." And he didn't write hashtag. He said the word hashtag. Donovan Mitchell then quote tweeted that the next day and says, "And just like that, we got drug tested this morning."
Count it up.
How many points do you have to have in order for the NBA to automatically drug test you the next game? What's the threshold?
For sure, an NBA record. Or an NBA, not a record, an NBA
milestone or
milestone, right? Because there's been, I believe there have been 8 70-plus point games.
Not many.
One by Kobe Bryant, of course, 81. One by Devin Booker. Donovan Mitchell now has one. Wilt has all the rest. Wilt has legitimately all the rest.
All the records.
So, yeah, probably when you, again, right, when you start breaking Wilt records, they're going to come collect some pee from you.
It's been done 12 times,
and
Wilt has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of the 12. The other ones are David Thompson, David Robinson, Kobe, Devin Booker, Elgin Baylor, and now Donovan Mitchell.
David Robinson did have, what was that, 95?
94. Yeah, 94.
94?
I think I'm pretty sure Luka probably got drug tested after the 60 point. I think in 60 is the threshold.
Well, I mean,
for the drug test.
I think you drug test Luka on a regular just in case, right?
I mean,
Luka's got that look.
Listen, we're looking at you. We don't understand how you put up 60, 21, and 10. Like, we don't get it either.
Luka's got that look.
Oh, man. Let us know in the comment section, what's the threshold the NBA should have for the automatic drug test? Because apparently for Donovan Mitchell, it was 71. And he said we, by the way. So did Robin Lopez get drug tested too? I'm guessing the whole team probably did. Seeing if they're...
What was it?
Were the Cavs passing around needles in there? Like, what are we doing?
Nah, it was the traveling circus of like the Bulls in The Last Dance before like Scottie and all them got there. When Jordan's like, I just opened the door and it was nothing but cocaine. I was like, what, Mike? Like, what story was that?
Darvin Ham had a whale of a quote this week about LeBron James. He said, "Quote, I just want to ride him, and he just allows you to do that." Because he just takes such great care of himself. So it's such a great luxury to have.
Count it up.
How much does Darvin Ham need to calm down?
Hey, at least 100%. That's up there with Mark Jackson saying that that Bron's wife is all city and he'd knock her out the park. It was like,
yo,
you guys realize that like
that's somebody's pastor. That's somebody's pastor.
We can hear you, right? Like you understand that these microphones are on, right? Like we see you. No, like
Darvin, his head coach, LeBron's head coach said, "I just want to ride him."
If you want to ride, no, never mind. No, I thought we were going back to that. Never mind. But.
Yeah, Darvin Ham's got to calm down 100%. That's a
100%.
great answer.
Yeah, for sure.
Russell Westbrook is the odds-on favorite for Sixth Man of the Year right now, according to BetOnline.
Count it up.
Wait, really? That's the count. That's the count it up. Really, Westbrook? That's what we're going with?
I mean, listen. It's not even hard. He's still really good. And then they just put him with a unit that he can actually just control what happens on the floor. I'm not surprised by it. Like you took a starting point guard that just literally didn't fit into anything that you were doing. And we're like, hey, we're going to make you the starting point guard on the bench. Now go kill backup point guards. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not that surprised that Russell Westbrook is in the running for sixth man and is leading. What is he? What are we looking at here this year? What are we looking at?
He's leading. It's Poole after him, then Brogdon, then Norman Powell, Benedict Mathurin, Christian Wood, who's going to be starting for a while. He's going to be out of it. And then Malik Monk are the next set here. But it just seems weird to me that a team that is 17-21 has a sixth man of the year candidate. Like, should that player not be starting for your team? That's how just strange and weird this whole Westbrook experience has been for the Lakers. But yeah, he is number one in sixth man of the year odds right now.
14, 7, and 6, 40% from the field. He's averaging almost a steal a game and a half a block, literally 0.9 on the steal, and almost 8 assists and 3 turnovers will do that for you. So, you know what I mean? It's good. It's not great. It's not Russ.
A lot of his shots are turnovers too. The Timberwolves got to win 113-106 against the Blazers. Anthony Edwards goes off for 32. Austin Rivers after the game has a quote. He said, quote, "You just know he's the guy here," talking about Anthony Edwards. "There's no doubt about it. There's no indecision with that. Ant is our guy."
Count it up.
Is this more of a subtweet to Towns and or Gobert, or is it just an endorsement on Anthony Edwards from Austin Rivers here?
I think it's an endorsement. I think it's something that the entire team knows, right? Like you got Anthony Edwards in there and immediately he had games where he's having more shots than Cat. He had games where he was having, like he was the leading scorer. He was one of your best defenders. He was right. So I think you instantly know that shift is coming. I said shift. And you just want to make sure that, that development does keep going and it has this season, right? So I don't think that there's any controversy with that, and I think that's the NBA, right? Like, I mean, listen, it's like when Carlos Boozer said no rookie is going to come in here to Cleveland and change this entire program around, and then LeBron James got drafted. You know what I mean?
And
Like,
then Carlos Boozer was putting shoe polish on his head.
and then he was in Utah.
Oh, he did pretty well there, dude.
Yeah, pretty nice play.
If you read this on its face, you'd think, oh, this is a subtweet against Cat. But then you haven't been paying attention to. He's been the guy since for a while last season, even, and then into the playoffs, and then this year. Like, I think even Towns understands this is Anthony Edwards' team. Like, I don't think that this is some kind of subtweet towards Karl Anthony Towns or Gobert. Gobert played in this game. Karl Towns didn't play in this game. But it's Anthony Edwards' team. It's a full endorsement of him that he's the leader on this team, and they're going to go as he goes. And it's sort of why they're 18 and 21 and out of the play-in right now in the West right now, because they've gone and went as Anthony Edwards has. So still some stuff to figure out with them, but Anthony Edwards, he's got the reins, and so you got to take it now, and then wherever you go, Timberwolves will go. Let us know in the comment section, who are your 2 stars of the night? Go check out Locked On Bulls, Locked On Mavs. Also go check out Locked On Sports Today. Great stuff on YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On NBA.
Bye-bye.
Boom!